Madam Chairman.
And we are now recording as well.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you all. Let's call this meeting to order at 7:33 p.m. And I'm sorry, I forget the date. It's all blur.
It's the 19th of May, 2020.
Okay.
The middle of the great pandemic of 2020.
Right.
Tell you. So how's everyone doing? How's everyone's feeling? How's everyone's health?
I try not to be paranoid every time I get a little bit of a sore throat, but
Not to.
you know, it happens, and then it clears up, and I take my temperature and I check everything else, and so far so good.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Because my mom's on the front lines. She's an internist, so she's still seeing patients.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And her staff, some members of her staff actually did test positive, so she did have to self-quarantine, and so it has been. So thank you for asking.
God bless her. God bless her and all the people she works with.
Yeah, it's so hard. You all of a sudden, people who, if you want to say everyday jobs, you don't realize how essential some of the people come. One of the plants that I support, one of the people tested positive, and they had to basically close down the entire plant. And I think, thankful I was not in that plant, even though it's one of the ones that I support. But you have to be so careful. I mean, young people, anybody. It doesn't matter. You have to be so careful.
Could we interrupt a moment? I just noticed that the screen is black on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There was an issue, and partly it's lagging. What was happening is, and I think if you see now, the screen is back, but it's only showing up for part of the screen. It's up in the corner.
Only for, I suddenly see myself. So it's for the speaker.
But
maybe is now the time to play with OBS, or shall we talk about it later?
I think it's probably best to talk about it later. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Why not? YOLO.
Yeah. If you click on, I assume you're using window capture. If you click on it.
Yeah, so actually I was using display capture. I've been trying display or window capture to see if either of those will work well.
If you try whatever you're using and you get the box with the squares that you can expand, then you can play with it. Trust me, you guys, this is the fun part of.
Oops, hold on a sec. Here, okay.
Oops. Check video resolution. I'm not going to worry about it. I see my face freezing. If you're recording it, I'm not going to worry about it.
Right. So actually, I think we're in better shape now.
Okay. So, Mary, you're doing okay?
Yep.
And
fine.
Great. Alden, today I played one of the yoga videos from your business at 10 o'clock. Don't know if it's going to be noticed, but it's there, and it'll be there on Thursday at 10 o'clock as well.
Super. Thank you for telling me.
Sure. Madam Chairman, are you ready for the next item?
Yes, I'm sorry. My brain shut off. Yes.
That's okay. Listen, I wasn't sure I was ready for tonight, but here we are. And seeing you all cheers me up. So the minutes from last month.
Yes. Everyone received those in the email, right?
Yep.
Okay. And
Read 'em?
we were all here because we did it remotely. That's right. Excuse me. Okay. So if everyone has already reviewed the minutes and they don't have any objections, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Mary, a second.
A second.
Thank you, Toby. Discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Okay, and we have the budget on there, right?
We have, yeah, the budget for this year. Wow. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't get the budget that was approved last night.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's somewhere on the website. I can get it. I can send
No,
you
it's all right.
the
Don't worry
page for
about
our
it.
department.
Don't
Because I,
worry
in
about
fact, don't know if they lowered anything for us besides beyond what the Board of Selectmen had already lowered. But
And how much did they end up lowering us, if you remember offhand?
what I remember is they left the personnel expenses as they were,
Okay, good.
and they decided not to increase anything on professional development. The professional development membership line is the same as before.
Okay.
And
That's not bad.
if we want to spend more, we can actually put that into the
Grant.
into the grant. So
Good. Good. So it
So
worked out.
I'm confident it'll be fine.
Okay.
We don't need to spend as much as some of the other departments,
Right.
so it's not as crucial for us.
Yeah. And I know some of the departments got hit pretty hard, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, and the mill rate's still going up, so.
What can you do?
Nothing.
Who, given the state of things, conferences being canceled and whatnot, is there, regarding the professional development amount, I'm wondering, what opportunities will be available for you, given the state of things?
Well, first of all, that June-July conference I mentioned, they just canceled that as of last night. They're replacing it with some virtual workshops. I don't know if they'll want payment for it, but one thing that can happen is we will have a pretty healthy balance in the line item for our staff, because the kids can't come in. It's not safe for them. I am going to be teaching Ryan the ways of OBS. I think he's interested and he has time. He recorded from Zoom the Fire Commission meeting last night, so that is actually playing on time tomorrow. And he's interested, and he has the expertise. So while we have him, let's use him, I figure. I've signed him up. He mentioned his interviews that he has on YouTube. He said, well, I'm thinking when I get to college, I'll probably go to a podcast. Lo and behold, the Alliance for Community Media offered a free podcast in June on podcasting and setting up a podcast studio. So I said, you want to do this? I got him signed up as a member of our organization, and it's free to him. So that's the value of the organizational membership, is that we can get training for other people.
And this is Ryan, right?
Brian Anastasio, yeah. He's he was accepted into George Washington University, but he hasn't heard yet how they're going to manage their semesters.
Yeah.
Around here, I think they're planning on an early fall semester at Yale, and I think I've heard this for the Connecticut universities as well. Start the fall semester early, get out at Thanksgiving, and don't come back. Do it online after that.
For Yale, I even heard in the fall that they're going to do it online.
All of it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, even if he's doing it online, of course, we do want a student to concentrate on his studies. But it's good to know him.
Yeah,
So,
he used to work at the pool. He's very, very responsible. He's very professional.
he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it. Anyway, even if I throw some work at him and spend time training him, we'll still have a lot of money there. We can, in good faith, return it to the town. I could ask to move it into conferences so we can spend it on anything we might have to pay for online webinars and training and workshops. That is a possibility.
Is there any kind of equipment that we possibly may need or repairs in the future?
We'll always probably need repairs. I was thinking ahead to last time around. You approved the possible purchase of year-end funds for a smaller camera that's still better than the ones we have. So we're a step ahead. I started lusting after GoPros, but that could go into next year. Could go into a grant application as well. So I'm not in a hurry until I really know what I want it for. Some of the expanded program, right. A couple of weeks ago, Jeanette Glicksman called me and wanted to know if I would be willing to record and put on television exercise classes for seniors who do not go on YouTube, but also put it on YouTube for those who do go on YouTube. And I said, sure, we could, because if it was under the auspices of the town department, why not?
Oh, so she wants you to put it on TV. Okay, I understand. Okay.
Yes, because there's some people just don't use Facebook and YouTube, right?
Yeah, no.
And it's the gentle exercise, mostly with people on chairs and checking their balance.
Oh, is that the one with Lori Lucy?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice class.
Exercise with Lori. And there's also, is it a Luciani woman with the first initial J?
She does a yoga class first.
She does, she didn't want to call it gentle yoga. She wanted to call it chair yoga, accessible chair yoga. So those, we've set up some dates. She got permission to use room 16 for that because I figured it was long enough that I could be far enough away. I've got the microphones. I've got the camera. If it continues, we'll have another camera we can use, or I'll use one of the older, smaller ones and maybe leave it in room 16. But that's a possibility too.
And also, I will note that because you mentioned early on about playing some of CHC's videos, we do have chair yoga and qigong, which are both good for older folks.
Okay. Well, I'll start looking for those. But yeah, I like the family yoga one. It had a nice intro with the bell, etc.
I did have a quick question about Ryan. I know that he's a graduating senior, so this question may come a little late, but I was wondering if there have been any opportunities for interns more broadly to kind of memorialize their experience, essentially write down the process for incoming interns, so that that'll make things easier for you, Pua, especially considering that, not now, but at some point you are considering like a retirement or like pushing down your duties a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that might take us to the that draft pay schedule that I sent you, the table, because it has sort of steps. And I took some of the information we had from, there was a draft amendment to policies and procedures about what criteria we want from camera people. Of course, now it's not just camera people. We have camera, which we need when we're recording something away from town hall. And then there's the whole process of using the equipment in town hall for the big meetings. Different set of training to do. The interns we got from Southern were familiar with something similar to what's in town hall. So there's a way we could break it down. They're both equally valuable skills. But part of that is written out. I added to that table, pull it up now. Seems to me last time I tried to share a screen, that's when we froze everything, so I won't do that. Draft step schedule.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now. Actually, I really like how, and maybe we spoke about this last time, but I like how it steps up in amounts after certain things are done by the intern and certain periods of time have passed.
Would you like me to share it? Because I'm probably pretty safe at sharing that.
Okay. Alden Hines, Zoom master.
Yeah, I live in Zoom these days.
Probably know the phrase all zoomed out. Let me see. I think I have to go. Oh, there we go. If I go full screen, then I see everything. I added some things sort of on the way to if somebody had to replace me, added some steps that I've never tried to teach anybody before. So even when Nancy was taking over for me on all those trips I took to Chicago, I never asked her to take a complete recording and get it on television. That's a whole set of training of using the Hypercaster to get it on TV. I would bet most kids could probably handle putting something on YouTube these days. But getting on television and setting up the whole television schedule is, well, it's my idea of a good time, but not everybody is going to like it. So, but it's something, okay, something that they would have to do if they wanted to get to a certain step that was closer to taking part of the coordinator's job. And that's not just the administration, getting the timesheets from kids and making sure that they get paid and making sure they get their documents in. That's all part of the job, and that's okay too.
So let me come up with a possible suggestion, which came to mind as I looked at this schedule. And instead of thinking about it in terms of, how long someone's been there or something like that, really thinking of it in terms of competencies, right?
Okay.
And so a person starts off and they have, say, basic videographer competency.
Yes.
And as they work, they develop and demonstrate a competency of being a proficient videographer or something like that. And then there's the competency of editing, or the competency of putting it on YouTube, or the competency that you were just describing of getting it out on the broadcast. And I'm wondering if thinking about some of those competencies might be a helpful way of thinking about that step schedule.
The only thing is, it depends on who you're hiring and where they start from, because,
Yeah. Starting with the high school students.
Competencies. Then what do you do?
I missed part of your question or part of your comment, Mary.
What if someone starts with some of those competencies? Then how do you rate them?
Once they have demonstrated those competencies, we should be paying them for the level of competency that they have, it would seem.
I don't want to say that it should be like a skill test, because I don't want to use that necessary terminology, but I mean, if you have somebody who's coming in already with those skills and has that kind of, knowledge at hand, no, you're not going to pay them $12 an hour. You know what I mean? But also, yes, someone can say that they have those skill sets, but we need to see it. We need to be able to see that skill set at the same time. So I think it should be a step up, and maybe somebody who states that they have a said skill set can be reviewed on a 3-month period instead of a 6-month period. I still think there needs to be a review process, or if someone says right from the clip, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z, and they go, oh, well, show me, and say, okay, well, then we look at it from there. I think still it has to kind of be a case by case because of the, nature of this,
Right.
art form or business. It's not like, okay, these are your duties, boom. It's more like what equipment can you handle and cannot handle. And some equipment they may pick up very quickly and be able to take on that responsibilities, and other they may not. So it has to sometimes be case by case, which I know is a pain.
So I think there's a place where that fits together fairly well, which is a demonstrated competency.
Yeah.
Is right. And part of that is demonstrated to the point that the coordinator feels confident in trusting that person's competency in the area.
Besides
and
technical
I think Pua did
skills.
do this. Oh yeah, I'll just quickly say, I think, I mean, if we look at the draft and the we in the town provide, you know, below, I think Pua did do that, right? I mean, she may not have spelled it out, you know, this competency, but she did say, you know, training on particular equipment, training for covering like particular commission/boards. And so, you know, throughout this document, you do see that Pua does like include certain training that the town provides, but that I'd imagine would, you know, be required or at least encouraged for someone who's working to complete so that they can demonstrate, you know, that competency. And I imagine that's what Pua had in mind, you know, when she was like coming up with this, that, you know, she was listing the skills that she had that she knew would be needed to do this.
Right.
It is just a first draft.
Yeah.
Also, besides technical skills, like very basically, we want, before we advance them, we want them to demonstrate that they can show up in time, that they can stay awake through a dull meeting.
Yeah, right. Well,
That they're not playing on their phone.
right.
Right,
Yeah. All the basics.
yeah. Another, you know, we're not in a rush to do this because we don't know when we're going to be in a position to take people into the room.
Right.
One thing about taking on the interns from Southern is, according to their program, we really only have them for like 5 or 6 months. So that's another reason to maybe evaluate them after 3 or after a certain number of meetings. Because we might have to let them go before we could really provide more for them. I don't know if I remember mentioning it to you several months back. Arthur Stevens, who was our second intern, applied for a job at Branford Public Schools as an assistant director of technology. So I hope he's doing well. I might touch base with him, make sure he's doing all right, and he may be in more demand in Branford than he thought he was going to be. But, it was nice to know, and I did give a letter of recommendation for him. So that was nice.
No, that's great.
Okay, you want me to tweak this some more? Because as we've talked about it, I started thinking about, well, among the advanced skills, one person might be good at editing, but not necessarily at programming. And there might be sort of a branching out of different skills too, just to make it more complicated.
Yeah. I think to Alden's point, yeah, including like, as you see it, Therese, Pua, the skills that you basically think are needed on the job, just, yeah, almost like a checkpoint.
Right.
And, yeah, I think that'd be useful.
Okay. So nothing to approve here. We'll just keep hacking at it for whenever we meet again, I guess. Let's see. I think we already talked to, I didn't send you the, I didn't make any different draft to the grant proposal, but possibilities were get the extended service contract for the hypercaster, first of all, because I didn't have it in the budget. Second of all, possibly half the labor expenses, because we're allowed to put that in the grant and it would help the town. I would recommend that. And in any case, the grant application isn't due until July. So you could look it up again if you want to think about anything else to put in. Oh, an extra $50 so that we can have an organizational membership instead of the other. Oh, the regional conference in mid-October in Providence. we talked about last week. They have not decided to cancel, but they want to be prepared to know what it's going to cost them, because they'd have to dicker with the hotel about not losing their deposit. And we don't know, under the current circumstances, out-of-staters going to Rhode Island would have to quarantine for 14 days and not make it to the conference. So it would be hard to hold the conference if those conditions are still in place.
Yeah. I think a lot of conferences are starting to be done and training remotely. I know I received some notifications from my place that we were supposed to have a training session, and they're doing it all virtually now. So I think probably the way it's going to end up going, until they can really wrap their head around this and, figure out, how to take care of it. Because the whole thing, what people don't, well, I know people realize, but I hope more people realize, is if nothing happens and everyone's, I don't want to say stays inside, but self-quarantines, keeps their distance, social distancing, proper measures for washing your hands, hand sanitizers. But if everyone does that and nothing happens, that's the point. That's the whole point, and everyone, and everyone's like, well, I'm getting bored. Well, who's not bored? The doctors, the nurses, the hospital staff, the people who are in the hospital. Those are the people who are not bored. So how about we all wash our hands and wear face masks? And not to be a PSA right now, but that's what's supposed to happen. Nothing's supposed to happen if we all do our part.
You had that on Facebook, and I took those words and I put it in the running scroll every once in a while. I don't know if you've had time to notice that.
It's the truth. It really is. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but even with job places and going back to school, and I know these kids are missing graduations and starting school and stuff like that, and it's terrible. But what's more terrible? I mean, some of these people who are now going to have to self-quarantine their families because they're trying to do their job.
Yep.
That's what's more terrible. And and it's you having a conversation, doing tracing now. That's even more terrible. That's what's more terrible.
Hi, Catherine.
Say hi, and then go. Say hi.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the meeting. Go.
I did find that draft grant application, and what I have is service contracts for both our big machines. So for the Hypercaster for 3 years is under $4,000. For the TriCaster in the big meeting room, they only do that annually, and that's under $1,500. I put in a number for the conference and dues that we had wanted to put in budget. I might make that less urgent, but I put in $1,400 for that, and then finally a little under $12,000 for half the personnel costs that are in our budget. And that brought us up to a grant ask of like $18,000 and so. But those are the main ideas, and I think all of them would be looked on favorably by the council.
Yeah. I don't see the problem of it being a problem, and also at the same time, I mean, yes, we're offering a service. Yes, a lot of commissions are taking a hit, a lot of departments are taking a hit, but we're the department per se of the one that documents, history, documents, what is happening. We are the visual version of their minutes, and some minutes are very detailed and some are not. So we fill in those spaces that aren't there. So I don't see that our budget's really gonna, I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. But it would be nice to check. Anyway, the personnel costs I put on the bottom of 4 items. So, like I said, not until mid-July. So there's another chance to weigh in if anybody thinks we have to add anything.
I don't think so. Unless you see anything coming down the pipe, I mean, obviously you can't predict if a piece of equipment is going to break. I mean, if you have anything that potentially needs maintenance, then I would put, add it. Any equipment we do need, you said that we have. So, I mean, that's the only thing I could possibly think of. Personnel, we don't know. Are we going to still be doing this in December? We don't know. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the problem.
But yes, learning OBS, there's another piece of training for a possible intern. We'll throw that into the schedule somewhere.
And speaking about that, it looks like the feed dropped.
Oh.
So I'm going to stop and restart the feed.
Okay. I'm going to end stream and wait for you to start it again. And I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know what happens when you do one that's not scheduled. It shouldn't matter to YouTube.
Well, the place where it might matter is if they have different keys.
No, the key will be the same.
Okay.
I'm going to create a new program with the same reuse settings. And I'll put part 2 on it. To create. Then I'll wait till you're ready to go. Little blue box goes that says go live, says it looks like you're ready to go live. Is that what you want to do?
And you're not getting that yet?
Not yet. There's always some lag.
Okay.
That's why there we go. Going live. Warning, it says the video resolution. It's not quite optimal. It says we're live. Widget. One thing that happened with me earlier is using a different laptop that had a lower resolution possibility. Maybe it was the card. So that might be something to tweak. It says good connection. Oh, there's a picture. Now this is interesting. The screen is all white. And this happened to me during the Recreation Commission meeting. Did you see faces when you were on, Teresa?
No, I didn't. Actually, I saw Smith once in a while, Andrea once in a while, and the connection for Mr. Adamovich and John DeMeo was very poor, and I wasn't able, I think a lot of people had their video turned off too. I wasn't able to see Mika, and Ellen wasn't able, her connection dropped out.
Yeah.
So I think the only person's video you were able to see was Andrea's and Smith in and out.
Actually, your face is on right now.
Yeah, I reset a couple things, so it looks like when it died, a few things needed to be reset.
Okay. It's a new frontier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your in purchases, I think we already talked about, and in case of emergency, I guess that's why I want to talk to Ryan about how to use OBS.
Right, and we had this talk at my place. I don't mean to sound like this, but and everyone should think about this at their place of work outside. If something did happen, who would be your backup? Number one, and number two, is your work transparent enough for somebody else to pick up and start with only having a downtime of a minimum of a day or two? And I don't know if it's applicable to every field that someone works into, but something else for us to think about going forward, even trying to train people, is maybe when you're figuring out some of these equipments, if you take notes I'm not trying to add work, trust me. You know, is that something that we can eventually maybe turn into kind of like a training manual almost for them, you know, to hand to them and say, hey, you know, I clicked this, and this, and it does this, you know, because that may end up
it
being
would be a direction to some training videos for each machine that we have.
Right.
I mean, I can tell them, you need to learn this. This is what you need to do. And then I'll show you what I do every day.
Right.
The challenge with that needs to be considered is that for some things, you know, like what's going on with OBS right now, and perhaps even more so with what's going on with like Zoom to Facebook, things just work differently every day.
Yes.
And so it's really understanding why they're doing these sort of things, or at least having a reasonable guess about it, so that when the stream drops, it's sort of like, well, here's things that could have caused it and things that you should consider and try to get it to start.
Yeah, everything is continuing education. Life is continuing education. How's that?
I thought I knew a lot about kids by working at rec. Let me tell you, I know nothing.
Not when they're your own.
Not when they're your own.
If I had a white flag, I would wave it right now, but I don't even have that.
Yeah,
I want to remind you of one thing you said before, Teresa, which was every time I got a new machine and I was overwhelmed, you kept telling me baby steps.
Yep.
Steps. And that would be basic to anybody taking on even part of this job.
Because I remember when I was the, you know, when I first started and we got all this equipment, I think it was the TriCaster.
Yes.
And I said to you, I said, nobody gets it out of the box and is like, I know how to use that.
No.
Like they don't. They don't. You know, you have to use it to learn how to use it. So if you don't know how to use it and it works one time, it doesn't. Well, guess what? After a year or so, you're the subject matter expert. You know. So that's the way it happens. Okay, to get back on track, what else do we have to talk about?
That's all I had on the list under business. Draft pay schedule, staff pay schedule, grant proposal, year-end purchases, and in case of emergency.
Yeah. And in case of emergency, I mean, right now, I mean, we're doing everything remotely. I'm not saying it doesn't make it any easier, trust me. You realize how many things you do in the office compared to at home. I don't know how many people are working at home, but sometimes the limitations of VPNs when you're at home it's very frustrating. So we need to all think about making sure in the future, you know, now that we did this crash course on how to video, you know, how to record meetings for our town in a pandemic, I think we have a pretty good firm grasp on it. How would we continue to do this if we needed to do so in the future? So that's our next step, I feel. And maybe if we have to, train people on how to do both, not only camera work, but, you know, if we have to do it virtually, we have to do it virtually. Maybe this is another option if we also can't get a camera person there.
Right. Well, we're covering a lot more commissions because we can do it remotely. So there's that plus. There was a little bit of additional pressure this past week because Betsy got in touch with me. This is after everybody, by the way, the town hall server got hacked, and so nobody can get the town hall emails. But I guess on top of that, Betsy let me know that town council decided that the open order meeting from the governor meant that all government meetings had to be available to people or else not happen, I guess. So in order to be, not just to be on Zoom, but that we had to try and get it on TV and YouTube. So I said, okay. we finally figured out that they didn't all have to be live. Otherwise, yesterday would have been crazy with finance and fire being on at the same time. But it means, I don't know, we always said, well, we'll add more commissions as we go along, as is possible. Now it's more possible, theoretically. Ryan is learning more, so if we do have these conflicts, we have something recorded. But right now, in a pinch, I'm pretty confident I could get it on both YouTube and television, at least until the connection breaks up. But this could have happened with the old equipment too. So
Yeah, you can't with equipment. You can't plan out anything.
yeah.
Do you ever think, and again, this is not with putting more work on, if we ever had to record a meeting, say we go back to normal, which what is that now? But say we ever go back to that, do you think this would ever be an option, say, if we had to record a meeting and we were short a person?
Only if that board and commission had Zoom available. And they were willing to use it. I mean, if they're all face-to-face and they're back to normal, you have people that are trying to concentrate on the meeting and taking minutes.
Right.
I guess that's to be seen.
Right.
We still need somebody who either opened up their laptop so that you could see the meeting.
Right.
Or something, but there are more ways to do it. So now that they know the ways, they may be more open to giving it a try.
Because I feel like people are starting to get more and more used to the quality now compared to what they were used to before.
Television. Yeah.
Right. And before, the quality, we were so worried about sound here or bouncing back and forth and this and that. And now they're, seeing such a different quality that I think they're more concerned about the information than necessarily the aesthetics of it.
Right. We had a little jump in our YouTube subscribers in the past week from like 127 to 130 or something.
Wow.
They don't all reveal who they are, but and I suspect there are probably more people watching who don't push the subscribe button because I get a notification every time. So let's see, we had between 15 and 19 people watched the Board of Finance set the budget and the mill rate yesterday in the course of the 40 minutes. And that's high for live. So so that, that's working.
All right then. So do we need to have the meeting next month, or you want to leave it based on what happens?
I think I'd like to see what happens in the next 6 weeks.
Okay, cool.
And we can decide to cancel.
Yeah, that's no problem. We can just send out an email and do it like that. So if there is no other business or nothing else to discuss about,
it's a special meeting. It's a special meeting. Can't add.
I'm not okay. Then if there's nothing else to discuss, I take that away. Okay. If you talk about anything else, I'm going to ignore you. Can I have a motion can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Aye, Mary.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everyone, please be safe. Toby, I hope your mom is doing well, and I hope she's safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And everyone, be safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Don't make me send you the happy birthday video.
Do it all.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Guys.